G'day, I'm Arthur Meek, and this is New Writing Out Loud. This is a show where we invite cool and interesting writers to pick a new piece that they wrote. It's 5 minutes or less. In this episode, it might be a short story, excerpt from a novel or essay, bit of autobiography, some drama, even the trailer for an upcoming podcast. Our mission is to get new writing into your ears and help you discover writers you want to hear more of. I hope you enjoy this episode of New Writing Out Loud.
I'm Rebecca Stonehill. I'm going to read from my novel The River Days of Rosie Crow. Tick, tock, dandelion clock, whispered Rosie. What story have you for me today? As though in answer, the river bubbled as it passed over a rock. Rosie dropped the stem and stood up, striding down the bank. She didn't stop to hitch up her skirt, wading right into the cold water. It didn't take her breath away. It didn't make her feel anything other than whole. Her long brown skirt swirled around her, and Rosie dug her fingers deep into the clear depths. She threaded her fingers through the stems of crowfoot before drawing them back out as a kaleidoscope of diamonds and tumbling white petals filtered back through her upturned palms. Rosie was a chime hour child, born at exactly 3 a.m. People had said for years that those born on the chime hours could see things that others couldn't, also that they could never be bewitched. Her father talked little of her mother, who had died of the ague when Rosie was 3, but he did say that she had called Rosie my little chimer, and he on occasion still did the same. She loved it when he called her that, for by doing so a hand seemed to stretch back through the past to link her with her mother, a shadowy, benign presence of cobnuts and the mist of autumn mornings. Whether Rosie could see things that others could not, she had no notion. All she knew was that she breathed in the river and breathed out the stars that hung like the constellations of her own face in the wide skies that stretched out above and around her. Her world was contained on the banks and gentle eddies of the River Mermaid, a tributary tumbling out from the Bure like a skein of her father's wool. She lived in a thatch-roofed cottage that sat on a small hill not a stone's throw from the river, a home that echoed to the sound of her father spinning worsted at his loom, the soft mewing of her calamanco kitten, Jub, and the quiet laughter from beyond the grave of her mother. Rosie had no fear of the water, but it was more than not being afraid of it. The river was her friend. And not only did it care for her, but it did something else that it didn't do for anyone else. It told her stories. It always had done. The tales came bubbling up from the chalk base of the riverbed, gurgling around delicate petals of crowfoot and spilling onto the surface. All Rosie had to do was listen. And so she did. And she stored the stories in an untouchable corner of her mind, where they grew and flourished until they took on another shape altogether. The shape of the world and what it offered her. This was an excerpt from a novel, The River Days of Rosie Crow, and I am Rebecca Stonehill.
Okay, my name's Neil Watson, and this is a bit of biography called Locked Up. There's no getting away from it. Between the ages of 7 and 13, I was a right little fucker. You would never have thought it to look at me, a skinny little kid with National Health glasses and a wheeze. I was clean but nondescript, hardly noticeable at all. Being invisible was something I practiced, learning to use it to my advantage, as what I was a one-child crime wave. There wasn't a garden shed, garage or shop within my local area that I hadn't ghosted in and out of, checking them out for something to steal. Nothing was too big or too small to escape my attention. If I wanted it, I would steal it. I didn't steal things to own them. I was taking them to sell or swap. Nothing could be taken into my parents' house as being caught with something that I shouldn't have and that couldn't be explained would cause all sorts of problems and would be punished. Similarly, there wasn't anybody I wouldn't steal from, especially when it came to money. Parents, relations, teachers, strangers, my friends' parents were all at risk from me. I stole the catalogue money from my mother, the Save the Children money from my teacher, and the Bobber Job money from the local scout group. If I saw it or knew it was there, it was gone. If I saw a purse, gone. Shoplifting was a daily occurrence. Being my friend could be a profitable and exciting experience, however. It was dangerous, as trouble was always a possibility. I was never short of friends, even if their parents weren't exactly happy and didn't approve. With the amount of stealing I was doing, it was inevitable that I would occasionally get caught, and I stress, occasionally. I was so successful, it always came as a real surprise when it happened. Unless the police or my parents were involved, I didn't care. In fact, I didn't care about anything or anyone. I didn't care or was even aware of what people thought or the hurt and damage I was doing to my family and my future. I just lived in my own little world, doing what I wanted whenever I got the chance. Not only was I a thief, I was a liar as well. I sort of developed both sets of skills in tandem, often needing to come up with a story of why I was somewhere I shouldn't have been or having possession of something I shouldn't have had. I developed a quick mind and a good memory to go along with the quick hands, traits I needed if I was going to steal and lie and steal often. Sometimes I would just go with the simple lie. It wasn't me. I often used that when I was accused of something after the event rather than being caught doing it. In my mind, if you didn't see me do it, you only thought it was me, and it was up to you to prove it, and I certainly wasn't going to admit to anything. I was good at driving adults crazy as well, especially those that wanted to change my behaviour. They all wanted to know, why did you do it? And all I would say was, I don't know, which was never enough for them. The truth was, I didn't know. I know I enjoyed the buzz of excitement, the sense of achievement and the spending of my ill-gotten gains, but that wasn't what they wanted to know. Eventually, the attempts to change me happened more often and became more severe. The school went from detention to the cane. The courts tried fines and probation, followed by child psychiatrists and psychologists. I was sent to a special school. My parents tried it all: isolation, shaming, violence, eventually locking me in my bedroom. None of it worked. Then at 13, it all went wrong. I was caught burgling a bingo hall down the seafront, so they locked me up like an adult. First it was the police station, then court, and finally 3 weeks in assessment centre. The funny thing was, instead of being scared, I quite enjoyed it there. Well, apart from the odd bit of bullying by the older boys and the nonce, it was a relief to get away from the aggression and disappointment of home. That was a piece of autobiography called Locked Up by me, Neil Watson.
Hi, I'm Amina Yousuf Shaikh, and I'm going to be reading a reflective piece called Learning How to Swim, on emotional regulation, quiet responsibility, and what children learn by watching us. It's been a whirlwind few weeks, and so this reflection took longer to find its words. But it stayed with me, quietly, insistently, beneath everything else. After my accident, I was emotionally overwhelmed. I couldn't orient myself properly in those moments. I was fortunate, deeply so, to have kind, grounded friends who held the situation gently until I could hold it myself again. What stayed with me, though, wasn't the incident itself, but how differently the adults around it responded. Some people seemed unsettled in ways that surprised me. Big emotions surfaced quickly, without pause, without grounding. Instead of managing themselves, anxiety seemed to spill outward. Instead of slowing down, there was reactivity. Instead of taking responsibility for their own emotional state, people reached for others to help them stay afloat. In the hours and days that followed, as I tried to make sense of it all, my thoughts drifted somewhere unexpected, towards children. Almost immediately, I found myself wondering whether Parisha had witnessed the accident. I imagined her feeling confused, watching Mimi Khala step out onto the main road, perhaps trying to make sense of something she didn't yet have words for. Thankfully, she hadn't internalized what had happened. She remained unaware of why everything had briefly paused. As my friends quietly held things together for me, I also found myself thinking about Shanze, about how, when she was younger, she didn't yet have the language for emotions, how regulation felt hard until she slowly learned to make sense of anger, sadness, affection, and love, and how to express them. Parisha has had her own struggles, of course, but perhaps because Shanze's were more recent, I could feel that learning process more vividly. And that's when something crystallized for me. Many adults have the vocabulary for emotions and still don't know what to do with them, because they were not taught how to swim. Some of us were taught how to stay afloat, but not how to swim. Floating works for a while, but when the water gets choppy, floating often means reaching outward, looking for someone else to hold us up. And the trouble with floating is that it keeps us dependent. Children are meant to be taught how to swim. That's the role of parents and caregivers, not just to keep them safe from a distance, but to step into the water with them, hold their hands, and model what regulation looks like. And that assumes, of course, that the adults themselves know at least the basics. Problems arise when adults become anxious or overwhelmed, and instead of regulating internally, they project responsibility outward. Often it lands on the calmest adult in the room, the one who doesn't react, the one who won't argue back, the one who can take it. I don't say this with blame, just noticing, but it teaches children something subtle and dangerous, that blame can be transferred rather than processed, and that discomfort can be offloaded rather than examined. And so learning is lost, along with the chance to be kind or even fair to one another. That day I watched adults cycle through blame, not to resolve what had happened, but to momentarily soothe themselves. I've realized that children rarely unsettle me. Even when they're impulsive or overwhelmed, their behavior makes sense. They are still learning. What unsettles me more is when adults forget their steadiness, when reactions come before reflection, when blame replaces curiosity, when defensiveness closes the space where learning might have happened, especially with children watching. We're all human. None of us are regulated all the time, but adulthood carries a quiet responsibility, not to be perfect, but to pause, to notice, and to try again. There are also unspoken rules about who is allowed to understand children. Parenthood is often treated as the only valid credential, while anyone outside that role is expected to step back, stay quiet, no less. You're not a parent. How would you know? Parenting is hard, one of the hardest roles there is. And choosing not to parent doesn't mean assuming responsibilities that don't belong to you, but it also doesn't make insight meaningless. Care doesn't always come from titles. Sometimes it comes from presence, from observation, from the person in the room who is able to stay grounded when things feel heavy. Emotional maturity isn't conferred by status. It's shaped through reflection, repair, and practice. Children don't need perfect adults. They need regulated ones. And so do the rest of us. I'm still learning too. Maybe we all are, learning how to swim together with children watching how we move through the water. Thank you for listening. This was Learning How to Swim, and I'm Amina Yousuf.
Hello, my name is Ollie Wheaton, and I am reading out a short story called Go Home. Ticket machine buzzing. A long line of orders falling to the floor. Everyone's out of position, filling in roles they are not used to, creating a back and forth of shit and fuck and tell me what to do. Communication at its finest in a Saturday evening super scramble. Something's gone wrong. Seriously, incredibly, unbelievably wrong. But there's no time to ask why. I think the chef was told, go home, because he's been sick. He looked so pale. No time to dwell on that. Keep moving here, there, pulled everywhere at the same time. Run food, grab something from the fridge, check if front of house are holding out okay. Run food, run food, run food. Like a defensive midfielder, I've been brought on to cover over the cracks, out of the safety of the kitchen to the exposed floor, risking the wrath of a customer seeking the slightest slip-up. And then someone's complaining a margarita's a little underdone. It's the goddamn big table too they were supposed to be dealt with. They are friendly. Perhaps there's something behind my eyes. It's not even in the top 50 worst encounters with the enemy. Back into the kitchen. Explain. Doubt there's any room in the oven. It's rammed as we rush to make up for lost time. I was meant to finish at 9:30, but that sure as hell is not happening now. I'd refuse if they still said I could. You don't bail out on the shit show in hospitality. I stuff some plates and cutlery into the pot wash, resupply the dwindling levels of cutters and crockery, slalom past waiting delivery drivers into the fridge, its breeze a brief balm to my sweaty skin. A moment of calm. Then back into the madhouse because at this rate none of us are going home on time. I run the food out to the tables, apologise to the customers for the wait, and ask if they would like any extras. Salt, pepper, garlic oil, chili oil. No, we don't serve ketchup. Run the food to tables, apologise for the wait. Would they like any extras? We don't serve mayonnaise. Run food, apologise. Any extras? We don't have Parmesan, but Gran Milano is similar. Back to the pot wash to deal with the backlog. Oh, wait, more food, apologies, extras. Food, apologies, extras. Food, apologies, extras. Food, apologies, extras. This evening has not gone to plan, if we even had one to begin with. And it seems, hopefully, things are starting to calm down. The machine no longer vomits out tickets. The towers of takeaway orders take away less space on the side. Out on the floor, crisis control was activated early. Anyone without a booking turned away. My legs ache. My brain feels fried beyond any coherence. I'm sweating. And the time we were all lost in the manic rhythm of stress was only 1 hour. As a result, the next 2.5 are going to crawl by before we can close and go home. I don't know what we would do if a group walked in at around 10 asking for a table. Quite frankly, I do not want to find out, and I'm guessing the others don't either. I'll use this time we have left wisely, though, to piece together what the hell happened to plunge us into chaos. I'm Ollie Wheaton, and that was my short story, Go Home. Thank you very much for listening.
My name's Fiona Padfield. This is an extract of Strip. He did everything for me. He was so gentle. There was a little gas fire in our cabin. Every night I'd stand in front of it and take my clothes off. And he'd get a bowl of water and he'd wash me. But really gently every night, just wash my whole body. And then I'd dry myself by the fire, and then he'd put on more of that, that new age music I told you about? Well, he put it on and he danced all the way around me. But you see, every night he'd ask me to beat him. I don't think it's good for him, so I'd say no every night. He gave me such a wonderful holiday. He put money in my bank account. He bought me fruit. He looked after me. He fed me. He gave me his time. I felt really healthy, and I just thought, there's one thing he wants from me, and I'm denying it him. So that night I thought, there's one thing he wants me to do for him. So I said yes. I didn't say anything after that, and he didn't say anything. I pulled the bed down from the wall. It was up against the wall, a really big bed, massive bed. Really creaked. I took his clothes off, and I lay him on the bed, and I went and closed all the curtains. I don't know why, because no one could see in. I went to the kitchen drawer, and I got some string, and I tied him to the bed. And then I went and I got the leather belt from his jeans. I went and stood by him. I looked at him, and he looked at me. I stood there for a long time, just looking. I didn't want to do it. I really didn't want to at all. But eventually I raised my arm and I looked at him, his eyes, he didn't flinch. I brought the strap down across his chest, made an incredible sound, leather hitting flesh. He didn't flinch. I didn't want to, but I lifted my arm and I brought it down again. I did it in the same place and it went red. Then somehow it interested me and I wanted to see how red it would go, so I hit him again in the same place and then again in the same place, and it was getting redder and redder, and I could feel that I was hitting him harder now, and I was getting in a frenzy, and I carried on hitting him, and then I couldn't stop hitting him, and I just really wanted to hit him really hard, and I hit him all over his body. I hit his cock. Oh, no, I didn't hit his cock, but I hit his thighs and his stomach. His whole body was covered in red marks, red wheels. And I felt I was getting really out of control, and he just looked at me gently. We didn't speak. Then I took out a candle and lit it. I didn't touch him with the flame, but I held the candle upside down and I let the wax, the boiling wax, fall on his skin. He didn't flinch. I poured it all over him. I made patterns all over his body. I looked at his face. He smiled. I looked at his cock. He had an erection. I went to the kitchen drawer and I took out a knife. And I didn't puncture the skin, but I scratched the surface of it all over his body, and then that wasn't enough. I'm Fiona Padfield, and that was an extract from my play strip.
Hello, I'm Arthur Meek, and this is the trailer for an upcoming podcast called The Future Perfect. G'day. My name is Peak Arthur Meek, and you are so welcome to join me on this journey into the Future Perfect. The Future Perfect is an aspirationally definitive history of the Covenant era, from the declaration of immortality to the dethronement of his once immortal majesty and the birth of the lotocratic Britain that we know and love today. Each episode is the result of a fully factified deep dive into Ballard's shared drive. Ballard's shared drive is the open-source repository of all public feeds, private chats and surveillance footage from the Covenant era. It's also the generous sponsor of this show. That means episodes of The Future Perfect will be free forever, as a gesture of goodwill from the great British nation to the world, as a commitment to the truths, and as acts of public remembrance and atonement. We'll kick off by focusing on the events that led up to the King's Speech, or what was known at the time as the King's Speech, and has now entered the historical feed as the Declaration of Immortality. We'll wonder at the royal reversion in which a lame duck parliament cedes sovereignty to the crown, ending centuries of democratic rule in Great Britain and Northern Ireland, as she was known at the time, which gives a sense of just how different the world was back then. Of course, these circumstances will result in the carving off from the United Kingdom, like a growler from an iceberg, the last British trunk of the Emerald Isle. We'll marvel at the character and influence of the King's trusted advisor, Niet Snecknaaf, Britain's chief scientist throughout the Covenant era, a curious blend of Rasputin, Sir Thomas Cromwell, and an inverse Dr. Frankenstein. We'll lament the dissolution of the universities and cheer the triumph of the new Hanseatic League. We'll debate the merits of the hit show Brutal Retirements, in which combat sports legend Rip Heracles travelled the world wielding a king's warrant to hunt recantists and put them to death. Was it necessary enforcement of a clear social contract? Or was it simply an evil program of public executions in service of mass entertainment? We'll investigate whether the time-travelling pioneers of the Erewhon Association successfully completed their mission to colonise prehistorical Britain, or if they were vaporised in the attempt. We'll trace the emergence of peak celebrity culture, made possible by the discovery of inorganic sentience and its ability to synthesise the creative personalities of the most famous and beloved names of this age of influence. It is, of course, this technology that makes it possible for me, your host, Peak Arthur Meek, to speak to you. But this is not a one-way stream. As a member of the Future Perfect community, you have a standing invitation to shape the course of this show. You can request topics that matter to you, and you have a standing invitation to tell your story in your voice about what you did and didn't do during the course of the Covenant era, and share the things that make you look back with pride, indifference, or shame. Remember, it's over now. There is no judgment in the future perfect. Let's join forces to make this show the go-to place for people who need to understand what on earth we and our parents endured, and how we subsequently got it so good. It's going to be a wild ride. I'm so glad we're in this together. Until next time, I am your host, Peak Arthur Meek, and you are so welcome to join me as we recall the future perfect. I'm Arthur Meek, and that was the trailer for an upcoming podcast called The Future Perfect.
Hi, my name is Gabriella Mayo. I'll be reading a short story called War Protects, I Am Protector. So mate, tell us. The feed crackles. The guest speaker seems to be chewing on something. We've all seen the video. He chuckles. Yeah, you went proper viral. Holden grins at Dean from his chair and leans towards his mic. I saw it and I was like, what? Dean laughs. He leans back and opens his hands wide. What do you want to know? He claps his hands back together. The sound echoes. The guest speaker's breath is heavy on the mic as he says, well, what happens when the feed cuts out? Dean leans towards the black screen where the guest speaker is connected to their sound system. I got the drop on them. That's what happened. He rubs his knuckles, feeling where the bruises haven't yet healed. And, they were fucking babies. Dean pulls his mic closer to his face and looks at the live stream. They called the police. Fuck that. Holden nods. Yeah, that's some beta shit. Exactly. One of those dudes, Dean laughs and rolls his eyes. One of them kept saying, stop, stop. Dean makes his voice higher and waves his hands around as he imitates the guy. And I was like, well, fucking stop me then. Holden raises his eyebrows. And you know why they couldn't? Dean directs this to the live stream. The guest speaker answers. Why? Because I'm a soldier, and none of those dudes could actually stand up to that. None of them wanted to. The guest speaker's feed crackles. That's deep, man, Holden says, laughing awkwardly, his eyes on the live stream's feed. Fire emojis are raining down the screen. Dean shrugs. So be vigilant, Pay respect and keep fighting. Holden is nodding. Dean is still speaking. He stays close to the microphone, looking at the camera. Don't be like these blue-pilled dudes calling the police and shit, fighting the inevitable, or you'll get someone like me breaking your fucking neck. The others chuckle. Holden flicks a switch on the sound panel and they go to ads. Dean takes out his phone and opens his profile page. He had a professional headshot taken a month ago. The guy was the best of the best. Dean's chiseled face and pumped-up muscles stare up at him from the bubble in the corner of the screen. Beneath it, his bio reads, War is rebirth. They tried to shut me down, but they failed. I correspond with soldiers. Follow me if you want the truth. Dean switches over to his main feed. A video pops up. It's a repost of one he did a while ago, one of his famous rants. Those always get the most replay. It's a clip from the podcast, but the camera is focused on him. Holden has been cut from the feed. There is flashing text in all caps at the top of the screen. It reads, Not my opinion. Watch till end. War protects, Video Dean is saying. He gestures emphatically as he speaks. It's a move Dean had seen politicians do at rallies. It has proved useful. Movement always keeps scrollers engaged. War sets a boundary and delivers a warning. We must have war before we can know peace. Video Dean looks at the camera, moving the microphone as he does so. It is part of the balance of life and death. People must die eventually. It is so much better to die in the service of protecting others. War delivers progress. Without challenge, humans become lazy, and in laziness there is only decay. We die without war, but within war, we get to truly live. Seeing the breath taken from someone else while you sit in a tank and hear the guns roar, it makes your cells aware of the oxygen they imbibe. It opens a person's eyes. Without war, there is still death. But without war, there is only chaos. Organisation is violent by necessity. It requires taking something and defining it. When scientists purify an element, it must go through flame and ice. It must die, then be reborn. Thus, war, in its purest sense, is rebirth. The video is cut off before he gets to the best part. A woman with pink hair pops onto the screen. She's grimacing. For anyone fortunate enough not to know this guy, this is Dean Sampson. He brutalised 5 guys last weekend. 2 of them are still in hospital. So to anyone who is still watching his content, stop. Stop listening to him. He is a literal psychopath. Do better. She stares at the camera for a second longer. Fairy lights twinkle in the background. Dean holds his phone out to Holden. Look at this bitch. The video loops back. His speech starts again. That was War Protects, I'm a Protector, by me, Gabriella Mayo.
My name is Tony Warner. This is an excerpt from my novel Childhood, Boyhood, Youth. Danny and his younger brother Harry have been sent early to bed while his mother and some of her female friends are entertaining the crew of a Scandinavian ship recently in port. Danny is speaking. Maybe I'm going deaf or getting used to the noise of Mum and Dad's parties, but I doze off and only wake up to the sound of fighting in the street outside. It must be late because all the lights are out in the other houses. As the noise increases, the lights come on one by one. Some houses remain dark, but I can see the curtains twitching aside in upstairs windows. I creep out of bed and twitch aside my own curtains. 2 men are attempting to wrestle one another to the ground. Quite a feat, since both of them are so drunk they can hardly stand. Another, a huge man with a mop of dirty blonde hair, is on his knees vomiting into the gutter, while Mrs. Fraser holds back his clothes to prevent him soiling them. Downstairs is even more rowdy. Dad is shouting at the top of his voice. Mam is screaming abuse at someone. Dee Moffat sings a popular song off-key in an incomprehensible Glaswegian accent. "Come away, love. Come on upstairs," she says to someone. "And you, gorgeous, we'll make a threesome. I know what you like, love. No problem." Mam is shouting even louder, answered by a heavy, threatening voice. The dogs sound off on cue at the provocation. Dad is banging his fist on the table. Then all hell breaks loose. Chairs are being overturned. Glasses smash. Dee Moffat is screaming. The 2 wrestlers stop their performance and totter back into the house, adding their bellows to the commotion. A crash. "You fucking bastard!" Dad screams. More shouts. Mrs. Fraser shouts, "You've killed her! You've killed her!" Growls and barks. The dogs are loose in the house. Another scream, a male one this time. Blue lights in the street outside. 2 police cars hurtle down the road, one from each direction. A black-painted transit van follows, double parks, blocking the road completely. "Call off the dogs," someone shouts. "Get those dogs outside. Shut up, the lot of you." His order only goes to increase the pandemonium. The blonde man and the 2 wrestlers are ushered into the black van. A skinny man dressed in a Ferrari pullover follows. Then 2 police stagger out under the dead weight of a huge brute who must be 20 stone and well over 6 feet in height. His trousers are torn and both his legs are bleeding from wounds. Not half as much as from the deep gashes across his face. I've seen wounds like this before at a wedding Mam forced us to go to. 2 fellas had a drunken argument, and one smashed his glass into the other's face, outing one of his eyes. I look carefully to see there's an eye hanging out of a socket, but it's too dark to see. "What's going on? What's happening?" demands Harry, pulling at my pyjama sleeve. "Been a fight," I tell him. "Mam and Dad are kicking up hell. Cop cars all over. Here's another one." Not quite right. The flashing blue light is an ambulance, which nearly runs into the back of the transit van. The driver and his mate hustle out, run round to the back for a folding trolley. A policeman stops them, seeming to demand bandages and cotton wool for the man bleeding all over his patrol car. The driver reluctantly hands them over. For only the second time this week, our front door is open, allowing the trolley to squeeze through. "Let me have a look. I want to see." Harry pushes himself in front of me, presses his nose tight up against the window. "Here they come. Look, there's a body on the trolley. A dead person. It's our mam, Danny. Look, it's our mam. They've killed our mam." Harry is right. It is our mam. Her clean white blouse stained a brilliant red, both arms lolling off the sides of the trolley. "She's not dead. I saw her move," I lied to Harry. "She's dead. She's dead," he keeps repeating. "We must go and help her." He lets go of my sleeve, races off to the top of the stairs, descends at top speed, right into the arms of a policewoman. "You boys can't come in here," she says. "You've nothing on your feet, and there's broken glass all over the floor. Off you go, back up to bed." "Me mam," shouts Harry, "I want me mam." "Your mother has had a little accident, and the nice men are taking her to hospital for a rest. Come upstairs with me, and I'll tuck you in." She grabs each of us by the arm, more lifting than guiding us back to our bedroom. "Into bed you get," she says, careful to stay between Harry and the door, mindful he'd be off in a flash if not watched. True to her word, she tucks Harry in before tiptoeing out and locking the bedroom door behind her. A second later, Harry's curled up beside me, like he used to do in the children's home, sobbing so hard the bed shakes. "They've killed our mam," he says. "Our mam's dead. They've killed her." He says that all night, even after he's finally drifted off to sleep. That was an excerpt from the novel Childhood, Boyhood, Youth by me, Tony Warner.
Hi, I'm Wheaton, and this is a part of my novel called Disgrace, and I'm going to read it now. I bought beers. The street is sleeping. I can hear it snore when a few cars drive by. I take my key from my pocket. The iron gate whispers beep when it opens. A couple of cockroaches gaze at me when I climb upstairs. They are not as scary as they were, especially at night. It is cloudy. I can't see any stars. The landscape is so dark that I can't even see the stairs. I sit down on the floor against the pipes. I can hear the water flowing in the pipes when someone wakes up to use the toilet. How can I feel secure from that? I'm drunk, probably. Too drunk to use the sounds of people's urine to confirm that I'm not the only person awake in the world. The first time I came up the roof was with Mom. I was 5 years old then. We drank papaya milk under the stairs. After all these years, the reason we came here wasn't fake. "Sorry, Wei. You can't sleep with Mama today. But you promised me." "Yes, I know, my love. But Papa's heading home today. I hope he will never come back." "It is because of alcohol?" I can hear my voice. Furious, hated, a lovely children's voice right in front of me. "Why is it so important to sit with Mom? Why are you so mad that you even want to be a fatherless child? Are you angry because he came home, or are you furious that she broke the promise?" The bitterness of beer spreads in my mouth. I can feel the bubbles burning my empty stomach. I look at this mad, crying child. The only thing I can say to her is, there will be more people breaking their promises when they grow up. The world is insane. Nobody can deny it. People construct the world with promises, but they also maintain it through breaking their promises. It isn't a big deal. It is a rule, the common sense of the world. The first time Mom took me to the roof was the last. "Even if you are alone at night, there are always stars accompanying you," she said. It is strange. Whenever I stay on the roof alone, the stars disappear. I often go to the roof after I argue with her, especially when I don't want to resolve the situation immediately. She has never found me on the roof, even though it is she who took me there. The feeling sometimes frustrates me. I can't climb to know exactly what I expect. Will she hug me when the chilly wind strokes my face? Will she cover my ears when the only thing I can hear is my sobbing, Kristen doing in the air? Will she sit beside me, silently intrude on my isolation the way I've been hoping? She sleeps on the sofa. The soap opera on the TV is still playing. Bubbles of the beer rush into my brain, making the weight of my whole body centers in my head. I'm so delighted because every wrinkle in my brain is glued. I approach her, tucking a blanket over her. I think I might be a little bit addicted to this feeling. My brain can't work since the alcohol glues it. I love that. Don't you think you owe me an explanation? I drank a beer. You know I'm not talking about this. So now is the time to interrogate. If she takes the role of prosecutor, who am I? The suspect? The light of the lamp shot right on her. Some cats are screaming downstairs as if someone is torturing them. Also, they are just matting. I can't help but laugh out loud. The strain of the laugh is so hard that I crouch down. I can tell she is so furious from her shadow. It is ridiculous that her shadow is burning in the frame. I laugh too loudly, so everyone in the world wakes up because of me. I can satisfy no more, and I sort out the whole thing in my stomach, including bubbles, beer, their lust, their smile, Dad's pity, Mama's anger, and my shitty little shame. I'm not drunk. I cannot be more sober. I'm only too happy. I lie on my vomit. The world is spinning around me. I'm so glad to be the chef of Earth. I guess this is why I can't see stars. I'm one of them. This is a part from my novel Disgrace, and I am Wheaton. Thank you for listening.